Alright, what's up guys? It's AJ here from Drop Frame Studio, back with another tutorial. I'm going to start out with this animation. This is a cracked screen, rigid body simulation, just a fun tutorial. So we're going to just figure out how I did this, kind of show the inner workings, and yeah, let's jump right in. So we're going to start out on a website like CG Trader, and you can just download a couple of different versions of an iPhone. I'll actually leave a link in the description to the iPhone that I used. But overall, your iPhone needs to be simplistic and the assets need to be well organized. In the object manager, you can see what I mean. So it has all the parts, but very organized, and we can eventually hide some of these to get to what we need. I'm going to fast forward through this part, but you'll essentially get the gist. I'm just going through the layers, figuring out what to what, organizing everything. I'm going to create a couple different groups. I'm pretty much organizing it into two folders. One, the screen, and then all the objects that I want to hide. I have a couple different things like the buttons. For me, it's all connected this once. I'm connecting the lead, and just call this trim. Now, the first thing we're going to do is bring in a figure. And you're going to ask, why would we do that? You're going to want to scale the iPhone up to a suitable size. Rigid body simulations don't work well with super minute or smaller sizes. So we're going to actually do something kind of counterintuitive of what you would think, but yeah, we're just going to scale this up. All right, let's scale this up to around the same size as the feet of the figure. We're going to bring in a plane. From there, you can make it like 200. But for me, let's do 250. Might scale it up later. And just to make sure this is on the floor, we're gonna grab iPhone, and you can switch to another view and bring it up on the floor, but I'm just going to use this extension called Drop to Floor. And then make sure that it's there. Now we're gonna hide all of the screens but the front glass. We're going to use the wallpaper. Now let's hit Command C, Command V. No, you don't worry about the texture. Everything looks good. Switch to polygon, Command A or Control A, and then hit MT or extrude, whatever shortcut is for you. Shift C, looks a little weird, so let's see what a remesh does. Alright. Command A, MT. Yeah, that looks way better. Alright, so all you have to do is, I selected the wallpaper, which is the top or the middle layer, but it had the best geometry on the iPhone, and you can hit NB to view that. And let me just take this material off so you can see it. So all I did is just create a hollow little hole for our balls to sit in. Alright, now we can call this base or catcher. Let's call this catcher. Skip off that, looks good. Now we can go back, let's turn our trim on. Now let's turn our screens on. And everything looks good. Now we're going to want to turn our screens off again. Now I'm going to just fast forward this part of me cutting a hole in the floor. Alright, so now we have our hole with the cutout. So what I did is I grabbed a Boolean operation and I put the catcher in first and then the plane, and we'll just call this cutout. So I was able to cut a hole into the ground, and then I actually copied the catcher again and dragged it a little bit down so it wasn't interfering. As you can tell, it was interfering with the floor, and that might cause issues with the simulation. So we don't want that. So everything's looking good. Emitter. So we're going to work on the animation. So for me, I actually used a legacy emitter. Make it smaller, rotate it 90 degrees. We're going to hit V. Let's make this emitter a little smaller so hopefully you can see it. Drag that down so it's into the hole a little bit. Now let's just see you play. You can see the particles just shooting out. Let's drag our timeline at 300 frames. Command D. Project. Frames per second, let's do 25. Let's go to our project settings or render settings and go to all frames, frame rate 25. Alright, and we can keep it at 250 or we go back to 300, but now we're working at 25, so that's easy math. I'm going to fast forward this part, but I'm going to create a custom icon. So just grab a vector graphic or a graphic off of Getty Images online or wherever you use, drag it in Illustrator, create a vector graphic, and just make sure you save it out as an Illustrator 8 file. So add the like icon. Now we're going to go to File, Merge Objects, and let's open it. And here we go. Here is the graphic. So it's two paths. I'm just going to hit connect and delete, make them one. And then I'm going to hit Shift C, extrude. From here, go to Z, and we'll do about 3. Still might be too much. So just putting a little cap on the edges. So cool, got that. Extrude it. Again, connect and delete. Scale that down just a little. It's about good. And I can delete all of these. From there, we're gonna call these likes. Or just call it thumbs up. Drag this into our emitter. Then go to particles, show objects, and let's go back. And it's looking good. Alright, so there's nothing, no forces working on this right now. There is if you hit Command D, and since we'll be working with the bullet, there is gravity. So we can go ahead and put a bullet tag, rigid body, on our emitter. Our catcher needs a bullet collider. Our cutout, just because this is the floor, needs a collider. our trim needs a collider, and I'll make these groups in a second so it's easier, but let's just play with this a little. Perfect. So I love how that's popping on. We have a little bit of jitteriness, but I'll fix that in a second. So let's get some more. All right, it's looking really good, looking fun. So from here, all we need to kind of do is fix the jitterness, and we also need to turn on the screen, of course, but other than that, moving right along. If you hit Command D, go to your bullet tag, go to expert, and steps per frame, we can just increase this to 20. We can increase our max solve iterations to 20, and you can increase this as well, but I'll just slow step error threshold to 10. So you kind of want to slow step all these in terms of increasing them. You don't want to just go to 50 because it could crash your computer if your computer is not suitable for it, but it could just take valuable render time that you might not need, or even calculation time. So that alone seems to have helped the jitter even probably more than, just as much as movie mesh. Movie mesh just probably will add a lot of time. So that's looking good. So we have that. And let's just add in a little bit of variation, 25. And I won't touch the scale. You can if you want. Let's touch the scale. Let's do 30. Introduce a rotation. And we can go up to our forces as well. Let's just introduce a turbulence. Looking good. And if you want, you can make the emitter a little bigger, the Y, so that it fills up the full iPhone. So looking good. And a couple other things. We're going to want to delay our start emission to about 60 frames. And since we're working in increments of 25, let's just do 50. Let's do 75. Let's move this to 150. Now let's go to the fun part, turn on our screens. And here it's interesting because you don't need every screen. So that screen we don't need. And the sub screen, I don't think we need. But say we leave both of these on. Oh, let's turn the sub screen off, sorry. So wallpaper. And I'm sure you could have just did this on the whole group, but I'm going to worry about just this one screen. So here, when I just look at everything, if you click the eyeball to solo it, you can add thickness if you want, and let's just do it thickness or thicken. Just drop that in. 2.2. Still probably want to be too big, but and again, let's remove that material so we can see what we're doing. And I'm also going to remove the work plane. So yeah, this is still a little too big, so plane 05, plane 01. So that's good. Now we're going to put this in a Voronoi, however you say this. Let's put this in a fracture. Yeah, that.
Yes.
Here you can kind of play interacted with. For me, I want to keep a little bit of more bigger pieces. And I'm just changing the seed. And from there, you can go to detailing. I chose to say gaseous. Just give it a little variety in there. And from here, you're going to want to go to bullet tag, rigid body, and we're going to go to dynamics, and where it says trigger immediately, you're going to want to go to on collision. And we can hop out of solo mode. That doesn't look too crazy. And if you want to actually see your screen, you can go to object and we can uncheck colorize fragments. And we just watch and it works. Perfect. So I'm going to fast forward through this part. This is just me fine tuning the simulation. The one thing that I did do is add a custom density to the screen and also to the objects so that they would appear more heavy and that they wouldn't jump around and be as violent. I also animated the speed on the emitter, pretty much creating like a dampening effect. A little bit of jitteriness afterwards, but I like how that looks. If you want to reduce the jitter even more, a couple different things. You can go to Command D and again increase the steps per frame and maximum solver iterations per step. You also can go back into the rigid body tag and go into the shape and change that to moving mesh. They'll give you a more accurate simulation.
Black.
Hey, and that's pretty much the end of the animation. I'll save the actual texturing part for my Patreon, or honestly, if I get enough comments, thumbs up, or just interaction on this video, I'll actually post it to YouTube, but I just didn't want it to make it as long. But overall, quick short video. Hope you liked it. Thank you for watching. Definitely check out my work at the links on the screen. And yeah, stay tuned to the next tutorial. See you next time.